Welcome back to my channel. Today we get the privilege to talk to an entrepreneur that sells on Poshmark, Mercari, as well as Depop. I've been wanting to have this conversation with Sam for a few months now after she posted a very inspirational post on Instagram. We'll get into that in a little bit, but before we get started, remember to subscribe, hit that bell notification, and that like button. Also, if you could, please comment below thanking Sam for taking the time to share her story on her journey of being an entrepreneur. Let's get right into it.
I also had some wins. I woke up to a very random sale this morning. It's so funny how, you just got started on Poshmark, right?
Yeah, a month or two ago.
Okay. Yeah. So I sent out, just for the heck of it, I sent out like probably 100, 10% off, offers to likers last night with a shipping discount, of course, and nothing. And then something that had no likes on that somebody bought for full price. And it was this really random shoe that apparently is like used in Seinfeld or something like that.
Oh, really?
And yeah, it's this. Do you want me to show it? Do you have any interest in seeing it at all? Okay,
I like learning new things, so definitely.
So it was my first trip actually to the Goodwill bins after I had that post on like Renzi's thing. Where I was like, it's my first time going, making an hour-long drive, and I'm going to go to the bins, everything like that. I got these at the bins. I saw them. I had no idea what they were. And I was like, you know what? Like these are unique. And I've had them up for a few months now, no likes. And then somebody bought them for, $90. So I got like 71 and it was a $2 investment at the bins, So, so those little, that's nice. That's the thing about reselling is, it requires work, obviously, but at the same time though, too, it is a passive income. I had to go to Florida a few weeks ago to visit family, and, I was gone for 3 full days and I made, a few sales while I was down there. So, and I had to take a day off from like my 9-to-5 job. I had to put in 8 hours and take personal time, but I was making money. So, that stuff's really nice about reselling is that you get this kind of passive income going sometimes. So
yeah, and that's great. I normally do it in the evening, so I notice you have a 9-to-5 job as well, like you said, and I have things blocked off as soon as 4 o'clock. Mine's 4 o'clock. As soon as 4 o'clock, I run to the storage unit, pack things up, and try to lift as much as possible until about 8 o'clock or so.
It's hard.
Yeah. It's time consuming. And that was one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, because you mentioned Renzi, and I want to get into that definitely, because that was inspirational to me. I'm like, okay, this is a great post, and I have it here, so I'm actually going to read it again on what you posted. Because it is something that when I read it, it was inspirational. And then I loved your attitude about it. You said something about, now I'm getting a big head. And I'm like, wow, you're going to get a bigger head because I'm going to subscribe to you. Do you remember that?
No. Yes, a little bit. I remember the feeling of that. I think I was just telling my mom about that. Because I was telling my mom, it was like, this guy named Abel, is Abel the way I say your name, by the way?
Yeah, it is.
I was like, he's interviewing me for his, we're going to have a conversation for his YouTube channel. And I was like, he had very kind things to say when I first had that post from Renzi back over the summer, I think it was, So, yeah, no, I remember the feelings of that stuff, even if it's not, remembering the words verbatim. I remember those kind of good feelings that come from other people. So, and I appreciated that. So that meant a lot.
Thanks. And that's kind of what I'm about, really, is feelings. I'm a touchy-feely type of person, is the way I explain it. But shouldn't say that out loud, but it is great to connect with people and connect with what I believe is like-minded people,
Sure.
So I'm going to read this. You mentioned started poshing while living in a hotel and not having a car. Once I found a place to rent after 3 weeks in the hotel, listing stuff, I walked to Goodwill to source and would walk back with my 2 hands and a backpack full of everything. Eventually started using the bus to get more stores and be able to haul more. Did that for 6 months while expanding to Mercari, Depop, and Vinted. I don't even know what Vinted is, so we'll talk about.
I don't use them anymore anyway. Yeah. So.
Okay. Just got a car last month, hitting a goal every day of listing 8 to 10 new items. Tomorrow, I finally make my first trek to a thrift store more than an hour away. Well, you got those shoes.
Yeah.
Oh, now I lost my place. More than an hour away. Oh, and I'm a single mom who has had to drag my child along to most of the trips. Excuses is absolutely the number one reason. Thanks for all the inspiration and helpful info. I'm getting chills just reading it again, honestly.
I have tears in my eyes. Yeah.
Yeah.
From like, yeah, it's, yeah. And I have to say too, Abel, that like, obviously, there's context doesn't always translate, right? When you say like, I'm living in a hotel, I wasn't destitute. I wasn't requiring like, and don't get me wrong, like I grew up with a single mom who was on food stamps and all that kind of stuff. And, and any kind of program in order to help her survive. But I wasn't living in a hotel because I didn't have the means or I was in such a bad spot. Mm-hmm. That was because I was transitioning and everything like that. But all of those things are still true that happened. And and like you just reading that back to me and me remembering like, I was walking to the thrift store. I don't know why it didn't occur to me to take the bus. I think it was because the buses around here didn't run until like 9, and there was a thrift store that's 1.5 miles away. And that opened at 9, and I wanted to be there right when they opened. So I was like, okay, I'm going to walk. It was January or February. And I was like, I'm just going to walk and I'm going to go there. And then again, for some reason, it never occurred to me to take the bus back. So I would walk with like 2 bags full of, 99-cent clothing that I found and my backpack and everything like that. And it's.
So can I ask?
I'm grateful. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, to me, that's hard. Even like you said, you're in transition, so there are choices, things like that. But that's hard. I personally, I don't know if I would do that. Walk. There might be people out there that are like, I can't do this, and I love the post. It's regarding no excuses. Just get it done. Mm-hmm. So what was going through your head as you were walking to and back from there?
I think I kind of had this mentality that there was no option for failure. And mind you, when I first started reselling, I put a lot of research into it. And that's not necessarily my type of personality. I'm somebody who becomes very overwhelmed by a lot of stuff, honestly. And, there are people out there who will research something. There's people out there like this way. If you get a new piece of furniture, there's people out there that will read the whole booklet front to back to figure out how to do it. Or there's people like myself who will just like, I'm like, okay, like I just need the next piece to just figure out how to get there instead of going through the whole thing. And that's me. But with this, I don't know. It felt like there was just, I couldn't see a way. Failure just didn't seem like an option. And I hadn't even followed Renzi yet, but I followed a woman who I think her like Instagram handle and her business now is called Pretty Bones.
Okay.
And she has got this like amazing, she's not really on Instagram anymore, but she's gotten to the point where she has launched her own, she did so well on Poshmark that she launched her own website called Lavender, I believe it is, where she basically does the same thing that we do on Poshmark, but now of course it's all her. So she's doing the exact same thing. She's showing you, here's this really expensive jacket that's worth $500. She's marked it down to $50 and you can, purchase it through her. And, that was the kind of research that I was doing or looking how people sell on eBay and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. For me, it was just like, I latched onto it and there was just no choice for failure. So it was like, I got to do what I got to do basically. So.
Right. One of the questions that I'm interested in, and again, I always want to go a little deeper, but I don't want to go too far. I'm looking at me when I go through transitions, difficult times, sure. You have to keep a positive attitude. And it sounded like you kept that positive attitude.
Probably my daughter, honestly. That seems like that might be like a go-to answer for parents. But I saw no. So, yeah, I have no issue being like an open book. That's fine. My partner, my husband, we were together. We lived in Colorado. We made this decision to basically sell everything, literally get rid of everything that we owned, our car, everything. We had an apartment. We got rid of that. And we made the choice to use our savings and do a program called woofing, which is basically organic farming in other countries. And people give you a place to stay, give you your food to eat. So we had very little expenses while we were traveling, and we used our savings to kind of pay for that. while we were traveling, we separated. And so by the time we got to this new place, things, you know, just started evolving and changing. I think I've come to realize that I think a lot of people are, especially when you're in a relationship, or maybe codependent. But I didn't have that option anymore. And it was time for me to, you know, be a big girl and put my big girl pants on and figure out, like, how am I going to fend for myself now, you know? And that was really scary. But like I said, I didn't see necessarily an option for failure. And I wasn't putting all of my eggs in one basket with Poshmark. I didn't think that necessarily I was going to, you know, be a millionaire by the end of the year. Obviously, I do have a career to fall back on, and I wasn't doing that at the time. I was actively looking. I don't know. You're a dad, right? You're a dad? Yeah. So
and a grandfather too.
Oh, well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. I don't know, you know, I think, and I had lots of long conversations with my mom too, you know, and my mom is a kind of like pull yourself up by the bootstraps kind of person too. She's been through a lot in her life. And I don't know. There wasn't an option. There wasn't an option for sitting and crying in the corner or laying in bed. You know, there was days that I wanted to, of course, everything that was going on, and it became increasingly hard. But it wasn't an option. You know? Yeah.
And having a support system, if it's 1 or 20 people, I believe that's something that's needed. So being able to, for you, rely on your mother. I don't know if you watched my video. I was talking to my brother, and he supports me. I have uncles and my mom as well, you know, so anytime there's difficulty, as long as you are, for me, man enough to be able to admit that, hey, I need help, you know, and reach out. Right. That definitely helps. So
it does. And I've been kind of I thought I was a lone wolf for a long time. I think I probably relied on my husband at the time. Like I said, I was probably pretty codependent. And that was, so yeah, again, being on my own was a bit of a like, ooh, I went 10 years, you know, from my early 20s, 10 years kind of being codependent on somebody. And then all of a sudden it was like, here you go, sink or swim. So, yeah. And I'm swimming, you know, and I believe in tooting my own horn, because if I don't, who's going to? And, you know, I'm proud of myself, man. Like, life looks a lot different than I thought it would.
Yeah.
But man, am I proud of myself though. Yeah.
Keep moving forward. That actually brings up a question I have written down. I know I wanted this conversational, but there's some question that a friend just asked me today, and I was like, that is a very good question. It says, how are you celebrating your failures? And I was like, okay, I believe in failure, but celebrating. So how do you celebrate your failures?
Yeah, I guess for me, I have a very hard time. I think I'm an optimist by nature. Mm-hmm. And I have a very hard time even classifying things as a failure. I see most things as like a lesson learned, part of the journey. What does, you know, put all the kind of cliche lines in there, you know, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And, you know, regarding like the reselling business, you know, have I made stupid decisions like buying stuff, you know, something's too expensive, purchase something that was damaged or something like that? I have. And in that moment, it hurts, you know, when you find out, or if I've had like somebody on Poshmark, actually it just happened. I'm trying to work through my old inventory, like clothes, and it's still up there. And I sold a Calvin Klein dress, and I had a hole in it that I didn't realize. And, you know, Poshmark, she opened a case and they sent it. And it's like, oh, I feel bad. But it's, you know, at the end of the day, I don't know. It teaches me that I need to be more on top of things. And I don't know. I think I try to be pretty forgiving of myself. And like I said, yeah, I think that's a pretty accurate statement, that I don't necessarily view things as failures, but just kind of, you know, something along the journey. So.
Yeah, I'm very similar. I'll get down on myself regarding the failures, but I'm like, okay, you learn from it and move on, you know. So I'll call it a failure and be like, okay, I need to slow down here if it's a missed hole or whatever. What I struggle with Poshmark is with eBay, I'm able to communicate a little bit more back and forth. If I make a mistake, I can send them a detailed message. I apologize. This is on me, you know, and this is what we can do to fix that. I don't feel I have that option on Poshmark, but remember, I'm only doing it for 2 to 3 months now. So,
right.
Do you have any recommendations?
Well, has anybody ever opened a case against you?
No, I haven't had any issues like that. The only issue I had was I couldn't find an item.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have had weird little things like that before where maybe I've noticed like a stain on something or a flaw, I guess, in general. And I'll just comment. I'll either go to their page and comment, or just comment under the listing that they bought and just say, hey, I'm really sorry this happened. A lot of times, you know, I try to be fair to people for the most part. I'm just like, you know what, I can refund it. And I'll charge you half price or something like that. You can do like BOGO. I've done that before too, where I've told people like, hey, find something else in my closet that's under this price point and I'll throw it in the package for you. So I've had that happen with a few things where, yeah, I actually have had that happen with a few things where, yeah, if I found like a flaw on the item or something like that, I'll just message the person and give them the option to cancel if they want, but also just say, listen, I'll throw something else in there for you or something like that. And they usually, you know, take that, honestly. So.
Okay. Because, all I did, because I didn't know what other options, all I did was just cancel it and then no communication. And I felt so bad because I wasn't sure what to do next. So,
yeah.
I always say I was born and raised in customer service. So those kind of things of customer service failures hurts a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have a customer service background too. I did that for a really long time. And yeah, you know, you want to make people happy, you know, and it hurts when you can't. So
yeah. So I was snooping around your Depop, Mercari, and Poshmark because I see that that's your stores. So first of all, I apologize for snooping. No,
it's okay.
Great store. One of the things that kind of stood out to me. Do you use natural light when you
do.
You can tell.
I do. Yeah. Right. I mean, like the view I'm staring at right now is my backyard, and that's what I use right now. So I will get a lighting kit eventually, but that's probably one of those things too. Like, I don't know. And I'm curious to know how you got started and like what you started doing. But for me, one of the hardest things with getting started when I was in the hotel room too, because I started when I was in the hotel room, was I'm conscious of like good light. I mean, just even now I've positioned myself so that the natural light is hitting my face for our chat. Right. And I'm very conscious of that. And, backgrounds and all that kind of stuff. And for me, I can be a bit OCD with that and feel like I can't go forward if it like, I mean, I have listings, I feel like that don't necessarily meet those standards. So I've been deleting those and then retaking the pictures outside in natural light with like my kind of green hedge background and everything. So it just has a really nice pop to it. But yeah, you know, did you have you had those challenges at all with lighting and all that kind of stuff or backgrounds?
Yeah. I remember getting started, going to the dollar store and getting the white poster board, you know, put it in a corner, put it at and then you can kind of see the corners. I didn't like it. We bought some lights, didn't like the color of the lights. It was still too dark.
Yeah.
And that's something I believe in is you just get 1% better. I think Media, there's another YouTube channel that I watch. But I believe in that philosophy of just get a little bit better every day. Going back to taking pictures, I'm still not happy. I have the ring light, but looking at something that was still listed from a year ago, I can completely tell the difference on the quality. So everybody has their own journey of what am I going to do when taking pictures. I love the natural light idea though. They look really good.
Thank you. And it's nice, but obviously there's like this weird window that I have to work with. And then today, you know, it's an overcast, you know, in central Washington, it's an overcast day. So, you know, So that's actually, I will have to move to like a lighting setup eventually.
Right.
But yeah, pictures are important to me because I feel like you get to, I know I wouldn't buy something online if the pictures weren't able to truly show me what it looked like in detail. That's not to say, I like to snoop too, or, explore and see what other people are doing. And there are people who have sold stuff, obviously on these platforms with pictures that aren't necessarily up to my standards, but people still do it. But yeah, I mean, that's important to me because, like I said, I just want to give people an accurate representation of what something looks like so that they know what they're buying. So
one of the goals of my YouTube channel too is, you asked about, do I need my numbers, things like that. And I want to get away from that. I want to know what drives you. So one of my questions as well that I wrote down is, what goals do you have over the next 6 months?
They're purely financial. I mean, for me, as I said earlier, I suddenly got into this place in my life where I had to be financially independent. And that was scary, because sure, I was working and paying bills, the past 10 years while I was in a relationship, but and nothing against that person, but they took care of, they handled the finances. They did make more money than I did. So for me, money, of course, isn't everything, but I also have goals for myself regarding like my savings account, retirement, being able to travel for basically a year. Mind you, it wasn't like, laying on the beach, sipping Mai Tais and everything like that. It was working on people's farms, but I got to visit some really cool places. And for me, getting to experience different places, new people, different cultures, that stuff is really important to me. So for me, reselling is just an extra way, again, to have that income coming in. So, for the next 6 months, honestly, my goal is to pad my savings account. Honestly, again, and I have no issue being an open book. Part of my journey, getting to like this place was, during that like kind of winter and spring and even summertime, I was basically living off of, Poshmark, or I guess reselling income. And then also, like a 0% interest credit card. So I don't recommend that to anybody, obviously. I am not saying that's what you should do, but that's the position that I was in. I had my daughter full time by like the start of the summer. I was trying to do the reselling thing, and I had a job lined up, but it didn't start until I guess the end of August, really. And even then I didn't get my first paycheck from them until the end of September. So honestly, I was just trying to survive financially. So for me, I've been just paying off that like debt that I racked up. And I've done really well for myself between my two streams of income. I've been able to almost pay that off fully, and I will by the end of the year. And then from there, the new year on, it's just saving up for those things like retirement or my savings account, my emergency fund, and maybe a vacation. So, nothing crazy, I mean, I'm not no crazy goals, just, I want to be secure,
That's the bottom line, the foundational goal, in my opinion, be secure, have freedom to be able to do what you want.
Yes.
For your travel, take a vacation. It doesn't have to be crazy. It's a matter of,
No.
in my last video, I said, I want to make a living. I don't want to have a job, and it sounds like that's kind of your same goal too.
It is, I think, no one ever is on their deathbed and says, I wish I would have worked more. Right. I wish I would have spent more time with my family. And so the job that I have, the kind of 9 to 5, so to speak, I also finish at 4 usually, is I do occupational therapy in the school system. So for the most part, my schedule, and I guess kind of yearly, schedule as well looks very similar to my daughter's. You know, I have off on school holidays. I'll have off for the summer and everything like that. And then obviously, like I said, reselling is that kind of thing that I just fit in there, but I'm passively, you know, having income come in when I make random sales on a Saturday morning or something like that, you know? So yeah, for me, I want to generate enough wealth where I can be comfortable, because yeah, I want to enjoy, even if it's not a vacation, even if it's just, you know, yeah, being able to get my daughter on and off the bus or something like that. Being able to spend more time with her, enjoy those moments in life, and yet not feel like I'm a slave to a job, basically. So
the 9-to-5 job is not bad, but it's not for everybody. And
yeah,
I'm 43, so I've had a 9-to-5 job for my whole life since I turned 16 and can get a job. But I want to be able to teach my kids. I mean, they're at an age now to where, I mean, my daughter's going to be 18 in January. I want them to know there's more out there than the 9-to-5 job. There's opportunities if they chose to go that way. You know,
yes, yeah, you know, I'm sorry. I will, I will cut you off a lot. I apologize. I saw a great quote, and I think you'll appreciate this. I mean, I'm sure it's been used plenty of times, but somebody said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yes.
Right. And like, you know, my daughter is 6. She was doing something when we go to the thrift store. She usually wants something from the thrift store as well. Occasionally I'll go like, yeah, sure. And other times I'm like, you know what, you need to use your money. And she gets money from things like water, you know, she has to clean up and do the normal stuff, like put her dishes in the sink and all that. But I said this morning, hey, do you want to water the plants? I'll pay you 50 cents if you water the plants. And she did that. And one day she goes, oh God, you know, I want some more money. And I was like, well, you have to figure out. I was like, why don't you go around our neighborhood and go ask people if they need any jobs done? You know, so she went and knocked on all the neighbors' doors. And, you know, sure enough, yeah, she got, you know, $1 from some lady for sweeping off her porch, you know. And then another woman just gave her a 20 just for the heck of it, which was really nice. Yeah. No jobs needed, you know, but it was really nice. But yeah, you know, you won't know unless you ask. And if you have that mindset of just traveling the route that we're kind of taught to travel or something like that, you know, or that you think is the normal route, you won't know. And I hope for her, you know, I think the reselling business is only going to, you know, expand. I mean, even the thrift stores are selling online as well now. For her, maybe she'll see a future in that too. Maybe she'll have like a, you know, is it a niche or something like that, you know, and she'll sell stuff. What you call it, both? Yeah. I'm from New York originally. So, you know, maybe it's called, I think we might say niche. Yeah, maybe she'll find an outlet that way. Yeah, I agree. I think there are different ways, and I want to show my daughter too that, you know, it's possible.
So I have a question for you, just listening to you. I felt that everybody has that voice in their head that limits them. You know, I know I do. For example, this YouTube channel, it took me a while to even get it started. So I don't listen to that limiting mindset as much anymore. It's just a matter of doing it, like sending you a message. I'm like, I'm just going to send it. You know, I'm just going to send it. And I was telling myself, no, she's not going to respond. She's going to think it's spam, everything like that.
And it took me like a week too to respond.
So it made me more paranoid, by the way. But do you feel you have that limiting mindset? And if you do, how do you battle that? I don't think you do, just the impression I get from just how long we've been on here. But
I don't know if I do, but you know, what I'm trying to figure out in life is, what do I really want? You know, I see people like Renzi or you know, that woman Pretty Boned, or other people who are kind of popular on Instagram. And for a while there, I thought to myself, I was like, I want to do that too. I want a following. And I made a couple reels and everything like that. And then eventually I had to ask myself, I was like, is this really something that I want? Like, I like social media. I've got nothing against it. But is this how I personally want to share my, you know, use my time? is this something that is really important to me? Getting the word out there and helping people. I appreciate what people in the reselling community are doing, or, anybody who I follow, whether it's like, financial people or, anybody who inspires me. I appreciate what they're doing. And do I wish I could help people? Sure. If somebody comes to me, I'll scream what I can from the rooftops. But, doing something like that is not necessarily, it's not a goal for me. So, I guess I try to imagine what really is important to me. And then, it feels like there's no real issue of going after that.
And that's that's part of the inspirational part that I pulled out of your message and kind of talking to you over the last 20, 30 minutes, however long it's been, is it's a matter, it almost seems like once you have your mind set on something, you're just going to go after it without thinking twice. Am I wrong?
No, I don't think you're wrong. It's weird to hear you say that, because I am somebody who views myself as not accomplishing a lot in life, honestly.
Okay.
I feel like I've always been that person that's been able to skate by. But, really reflecting on like this situation and how I got to this part in my life, or this point in my life, I mean, there have been a lot of things that I've gone through in life where I wasn't going to settle for the status quo. And if there was some, sure. Yeah. That is an accurate representation. Sure. The whole thing with like even traveling abroad for a full year, I came home and told my partner at the time, I was like, it was my 30th birthday and we had gone on like a little, day trip somewhere for like a birthday surprise. And we were driving and we were living in Colorado, which is a beautiful place. And I said, oh God, I'm so tired of this. I'm so tired that this is like 5% of our life, and 95% of our life is just working every single day to make a living. And we started this journey where I was like, I think on my 30th birthday, I'd probably had a couple beers and I was like, I want to buy an RV and sell all our stuff and go travel the country and work remote jobs and, live life that way. And I started, of course, I guess it's kind of a pattern for me. I started following people on social media. I started reading books. I started, looking up stuff on how to do this. And then eventually that turned into something different. I had found out I was doing occupational therapy at the time. And my supervisor had told me that her son was doing a program called woofing in South America. I asked what it was. She told me, and that became my new kind of fixation. And I came home and told my partner, and then we planned for a full year to get everything in order. So that became the new thing. And I put my mind to it and, made it happen. So I guess I've never thought of myself like that, but again, I mean, there's obviously got to be people out there like this in the world, but for me, there's just, and not in like this like manic crazy way, but I just don't see the path for failure, especially when I've got all the tools, right? Like you said, I've got support system. I've got like my mom, I've got my best friend who's been, who's absolutely the most amazing person. I've got, I do have an education, so that was obviously always something to fall back on. I've got the smarts in the sense that I know what to do if things get bad, and I do have resources. I'm fortunate enough that I do have resources, obviously, or I can think on my feet and go, you know what? Let me call Discover and say, hey, listen, I haven't been with you guys for a while. Would you mind, I have a card, but I lost it a while ago. Would you guys mind giving me a new card and signing me up for 0% APR all over again? And they're like, oh yeah, sure. We'll do that for a year, So, I'm not, I do know things, and, and that in itself, like I said, I feel very blessed that I'm fortunate enough, because not everybody is in those positions, right? They don't necessarily know what the moves are to make, or they don't have anybody to rely on. So I don't look at myself as like some superpower and that like, yeah, I did all this. If anything, I view stuff that I'm the luckiest person. Even when I signed on, what was it, like 13 minutes before our phone call?
Yeah.
When I like clicked off real quick, I was like, oh my gosh, that again is like one of those things where like, I feel so lucky. How lucky was I that I had this random thought in my head where I was like, I should check and see if my microphone is working on my computer. And I happened to find out that, oops, I'm supposed to be on in 10 minutes versus me going on 2 hours later and be like, okay, I'm ready, you know? And I felt lucky. I feel like those kinds of things, I just feel lucky all the time, honestly. I don't feel like it's anything deliberate on my part. I feel a lot of luck, and that coincidences kind of happen, and that I'm fortunate. And, you know, obviously I'm making moves, you know, your work, you know, you're putting the work in. You know, do you know anything about like manifesting or anything like that? And I don't know a ton about it, but my thinking with manifesting is people go, you know, I think some people might think of it as like, if I just think good thoughts, these things are going to happen for me. Right. And my version of it, and I don't necessarily even practice it, but my version that I think is that people who are manifesting stuff are putting the work in and saying, again, that failure is not an option. And like, I'm putting the work in and this thing's going to happen for me. You know, it's that positive outlook. They've got faith that it's going to happen, you know? So that was a very long-winded answer.
No, I love that answer. For me, I mean, I pray every day that God guides me on the way he wants me to go. But not only that, that puts me in the right mindset, a positive mindset. When I am not in a positive mindset of, oh, I went to the thrift store late, so everybody else got something. Yeah. I know my eyes are closed to the opportunities that are there. And going with my uncle to a thrift store, garage sale type thing, he was finding all this stuff, and I was just in a bad mood or whatever. I'm going to admit to that. And I didn't find anything that day. The next day, told myself I was going to be in a good mood, went there and purchased a bunch of different things on day 2. So it is definitely a matter of mindset, keeping positive. We're going to be able to find things. And I always say, the more you grind, the more opportunities you make for yourself.
That, you know, and that is so true. And like, so for me, I use the words, by the way, just so you know, and whether you want to keep this in there or not is up to you. I use the words like faith and blessing and stuff. I don't believe in a higher power, but do I understand the power of prayer and all that kind of stuff, because it is literally the same type of thinking of that you are putting in that kind of mind work of just, like you said, keeping yourself in that positive mindset, believing that things are going to work in your favor. And yet, if you're in that kind of like, woe is me all the time, or it never works out, you know, like, gosh, you know, I've had that happen so many times too, where you're just like, oh, you know, this stinks. And then like you said, you just keep at it. You know, you can't know unless you try. There is opportunity out there. Again, you know, it's just, again, I think it goes back to that positive mindset, you know, because if you don't have that, if you think the cards are stacked against you the entire time, then I don't think you're going to succeed, you know?
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah.
As you know, my channel is Abel's Treasures, but what is your greatest treasure?
It's going to sound cliche, of course, but it's my kid, you know, it's my daughter. You know, I think I told her last night she had Girl Scouts and I had to pick her up. And I said to her, you know, I just want to let you know, how grateful I am that I'm your mama and that you call me mama. And yeah, you know, like, I think life would look a lot different if she wasn't here. And, you know, she's the reason for it all, honestly. So yeah, you know, never thought I'd be one of those kind of like cliche parents, but you know, here I am.
So a couple other things that I kind of didn't realize that even impressed me more. I mean, you've traveled outside of the country, you've experienced different cultures, and you have your goals set on not necessarily financial. It's just a matter of, like I said before, just making a life, making a living. And to me, that's, again, I keep using this word, but inspirational. And you're a determined person. I really enjoy this conversation. So kind of to wrap it up, Are there any questions I didn't ask you that you really wanted to, and we're going YouTube instead of conversation now, anything that you want to get out to the world of how determined you are and how people should kind of move forward?
I guess first and foremost, I would say surround yourself with positive people, because I think whether that is your core group of people or whether that's searching people, I follow a lot of people on Instagram who inspire me. You know, at first when I didn't have an Instagram until I started traveling. And I was like, oh, because it'll be a way for me to share my journey with friends and family. And then when I got back to the States, I would start following people. And it was just, you know, nothing against anybody, but it was just it wasn't content that inspired me. Sometimes it made me jealous, honestly. And then I got to a point, especially as I started following more like resellers, or just entrepreneurs, again, people who are like financially literate, who are giving people the tools. I started following people who could inspire me, could give me knowledge, who could only really have a positive effect in my life. So for me, I think that's an important place to start, is because if you, again, it goes back to that mindset. If you don't have that mindset, then how are you going to succeed in anything in life? You know, and that's the great thing about social media, is like you have so many people out there who will show you, yes, you can do this. It doesn't come without challenges. It's not going to be easy probably, but there are tools, there are steps. You can do this. And man, I think everybody needs a cheerleader, even again, if that's not someone yelling in your ear, it's nice to even see that, you know? So for me, that has been a great.
All right. Thank you for visiting. I love talking to Sam. And here are 3 takeaways I think we all need to be reminded about. You know, focus on what's important to you, not others. Find content that inspires, educates, and provides a positive impact on your life. We can control what type of content we take in. Make sure you're choosing wisely. It sure seems like Sam is. Thank you for visiting, and remember, the greatest treasure is connections with people. Take care of each other.